The stadium lights glowed like giant moons, but that wasn't what made the crowd freeze in confusion. It was the tiny silhouette trotting onto the field, a dog, calm, proud, and unbelievably familiar. Nobody expected that moment, the moment Shohei Ohtani's dog quietly stole the show. At first, people thought it was a prank, a decoy, a mascot, a camera trick. After all, this was supposed to be a serious night, a night focused on the game, the players, and the pressure of greatness. But destiny had other plans, and the universe had put the spotlight on four paws and a wagging tail. Every eye in the stadium locked onto him as he strolled forward with the confidence of someone born for the spotlight. His name was Decoy, Ohtani's loyal companion, though at this moment, he wasn't just a dog. He was a legend in the making. What no one knew was that behind this adorable moment lay a story deeper than anyone expected. A story of loyalty, healing, quiet love, and the unexpected ways life gifts us strength. The crowd didn't know it yet, but they were witnessing a moment that would replay across social media, in highlight reels, in memes, and even in the hearts of people who didn't know a thing about baseball. Shohei Ohtani stood at home plate, mask on, glove ready, trying not to laugh as Decoy sat perfectly still like a professional catcher waiting for the pitch. Ohtani, known for his calm and composure in pressure moments, was suddenly struggling to hold back a grin. But for a split second, just a heartbeat, you could see something else in his eyes. A softness, a memory, something emotional swirling beneath the surface. Because Decoy wasn't just any dog. He was Ohtani's anchor during the loneliest nights of rehab. During the silence after injuries. During those moments when even the most celebrated athletes questioned their path. When the world demanded perfection from Shohei, Decoy offered something far more powerful: peace. Tonight, the world was finally seeing the companion who had watched him rise, fall, and rise again. As Decoy tilted his head, waiting for Ohtani's signal, the stadium erupted into laughter and applause. But what made the moment magical wasn't the comedy, it was the purity. A rare, unscripted glimpse into the heart of the most disciplined superstar in the world. Then, in perfect cinematic timing, the ball was gently tossed toward Decoy. And instead of flinching or running, he did something no one expected. He calmly lifted his paw and tapped the ground, almost as if calling for a fastball. The roar of the crowd shook the stadium. Cameras flashed like fireworks. Even the opposing team couldn't stop smiling. Decoy had just called the pitch. Ohtani played along, stepping into a pitching stance with the seriousness of a playoff game. The wind-up was dramatic, exaggerated, almost theatrical, and the crowd loved it. But as the ball left his hand, time seemed to slow. Decoy didn't move. He didn't chase. He didn't panic. Instead, he raised his head, following the ball with the poise of a seasoned veteran. And then, gently, perfectly, he nudged it back with his nose. It was ridiculous. It was adorable. It was unforgettable. But beneath the laughter, something deeper was happening. People were witnessing a side of Ohtani they rarely saw: raw, human, warm. A man capable of dominating the sport, yet soft enough to share the stage with a tiny partner who had earned his place beside him. The broadcasters began whispering stories they'd heard. Rumors about how Decoy sat beside Ohtani during long flights. How he'd rest his head on Ohtani's arm during treatment sessions. How he'd bark at the TV when Shohei struck someone out. How he had once stayed awake the entire night when Ohtani underwent surgery, pacing nervously until he returned. Fans who once argued about stats and contracts now found themselves united over something simple: love. Because sometimes the most valuable moments in sports aren't about power or speed. They're about connection. As Decoy walked toward the dugout, tail wagging, the entire stadium chanted his name. It wasn't ironic. It wasn't forced. It was real. Decoy had become the soul of the night. Ohtani followed behind him, shaking his head in disbelief but smiling like a proud parent. In that moment, the pressure of fame melted away. He looked freer than he had in months. And the cameras caught something stunning: Ohtani bending down, whispering something only Decoy could hear. The dog's ears perked up, and his tail wagged faster, as if he understood every word. Maybe he did, because for years, Decoy had stood beside him through storms the public never saw. Through loneliness. Through recovery. Through uncertainty. Now, at last, the world saw what Decoy had always known: even heroes need someone to hold on to. The commentators weren't wrong when they said this was one of the most wholesome moments in MLB history. But even that didn't fully capture it. This wasn't just wholesome. It was healing. It was honest. It was a reminder that even the greatest athletes carry silent stories, and sometimes, those stories walk on four legs. As the game resumed, something strange happened. The energy shifted, the tension lifted, fans felt lighter, happier, reconnected to what sports are supposed to be, joy. Decoy sat beside Ohtani in the dugout, head resting on his knee, watching the game with the seriousness of a seasoned scout. Each time Ohtani glanced down, he seemed to breathe easier. And if you watched closely, you could see why this moment mattered so much. This wasn't just a dog being cute. This was a glimpse behind the curtain of greatness. Behind the trophies. Behind the headlines. Behind the silence of hospital rooms and the noise of stadiums. Decoy wasn't a mascot. He was family. And on this night, he became something even more unexpected. A symbol. A reminder that even when life feels overwhelming, tiny moments of joy can change everything. A reminder that strength doesn't always roar, sometimes it barks softly beside you, nudging you forward. As the final inning approached, the crowd chanted again, louder this time, half joking, half serious. MVP, MVP, MVP. But they weren't talking about Ohtani. They were talking about the dog who didn't throw a pitch, didn't hit a homer, didn't make a single play, yet somehow made the night unforgettable. Decoy Ohtani, the most valuable pup. And as Ohtani lifted Decoy into his arms, giving one final wave to the roaring crowd, it became clear. Some moments aren't measured in stats or victories. Some moments are measured in heart. And tonight, the smallest heart in the stadium beat the loudest.